Alright, cat lovers, here we are, in Sortie. It's new. Sort of. And it's exciting. Sort of. And we're going to be grinding for those prime weapons in here until the servers go down. And they've told me, if you want to be serious about Sortie, you bring your black mage, you bring 2 scholars, you magic burst, you play it safe. But I say, if you want to be a champion, you run in there and you get your blade wet. Today, in this new guide video, we're going to show you how you can kill all 8 bosses in Sortie, fully clear the zone, with a full-on melee method. I find it to be less stressful, more fun, and you get about 55,000 Gallimaufry at the end. So dive into Sortie with us. We're going to crank this out, and we're going to show you exactly how to do it. As we're heading for our first boss, let's talk about some of the basics, the pathing and the job setup. As you saw in the intro, we're doing a full DD setup, no tank. We're using Dark Knight, Warrior, Bard, Corsair, Red Mage, and White Mage. For the pathing, we are going to do H first with Ayeta. This means that we did a run where we killed the D-boss and did not kill Ayeta so that we could start with him on the next run. The reason we like to do this is if we go straight to him and kill him, we're going to use all of our 2 hours. We're using Stymie, Soul Enslavement, Asylum, Mighty Strikes, and obviously the 2-hour songs, everything. And by doing him first, we ensure that we'll get all of our 2 hours back before the run is over. And Gartell's kind of a bitch, so it's really nice to have them all back up for him. So we start with Ayeta, we go crank him out, and then we go back to the top floor and we go around the whole zone collecting the boss pops for the basement. So we go to D first, kill the guy, head over to C, kill Scamora, then to B for LeBron James, and then over to A for Gal Gadot. Crank all those guys out. And if you're lucky, you're going to run into all of the mini NMs on the top floor as well to get the Orum chest. We've decided that we wouldn't go out of our way to get it, but we've been getting lucky. Typically, they're all pretty much on the path. After we get the basement boss pops, we then go to E, then to G, and we finish off in F because Gartell is really gross and we want to make sure we have our 2 hours for them. And sometimes we only have like 10 minutes when we get to Tribulate in G, and by doing 2-hour songs there, we actually have them for Tribulate and Gartell, which is pretty nice. So let's head over to Ayeta in the H area and crank him out. Alright, here we are approaching Ayeta, and there is a lot to keep track of in this fight to make it go smoothly. First, let's talk about the buffs. Like I said earlier, we're going to do 2-hour songs. We're going to go do 2 marches, 2 minuets, and a blade magical. Now, even though we have the red mage, you want the 2 marches because he's going to do slow on you, and it'll override any haste too, so this just makes it easier. You're going to do Chaos Roll and Sam's Roll and Crooked the Chaos. And just as important as the buffs in this fight are the debuffs. We're going to try to floor his defense. So the red mage is going to run in. They're going to use Dia 3. They're also going to Stymie to get Distract 3 on him. The warrior can do Armor Break, although I don't think it actually lands, so you might not have to do that. And the bard, this is very important. They're not only going to keep up Haste Samba, but they're going to box step Ayeta 5 times. You also need to proc him. Every time he does a TP move, you have to hit him with magic of the opposite element, and that's up on the screen there. You can see what spells to cast. It can just be a level 1, but make sure you see that proc because he gets a 5% damage taken resistance every time you fail to proc him. Placement's also very important. You're going to see we're going to face pull him, and we're not going to act on him until we're all in the little notch that we're heading for. And as soon as he's in place, we're going to start 2-houring. We're going to get Soul Enslavement up, we're going to get Asylum on, and we're going to do Mighty Strikes. And you're going to start cranking. Okay, we're going in. Another thing with Ayeta is he likes to spawn feathers. We found that we can sit through the first ones if they pop before 50%. If it's after 50%, you're going to want to move out of them, and everybody needs to move together. So have a plan for which direction you're going to move. So you don't want anybody to be out of Kiraga range. So like we got them in place, we're getting the debuffs going, and we're going to soul enslavement right out the gate. And you get as much damage as you can when you're in this nice little notch, because the knockback's not going to be too bad if you place it right, and you can just really DPS up on him. So here's the first feather, but we're just going to eat this feather because it was before 50%, so it's fine. We're just going to stay in it. And remember to be proccing him with the opposite element spells. The red mage and the white mage can be on top of that. Just keep hitting him, and now we know that he did a TP move, so the feathers are coming, so we're getting out of the way. Another thing about this guy, we're using different weapon skills to mix up the weapon skill wall. You got to be careful though, because sometimes Torque Cleaver can make distortions or lights, and it can heal him depending on what mode he's in. We try not to do any skill chains at all, but sometimes they happen. Now look, he's going to do another feather right here, but he's almost dead, so we're just going to finish him off. We're done. So great start to the run. We got one of the worst bosses out of the way. So just quick recap. You want to make sure to pull him in that notch. Face pull him. You don't want to act on him, because if somebody does something simple on him and then you get a cure from the white mage, you might pull him away. You want him to get in that spot before you act on him. 2 hours as soon as you engage, make sure to be on top of the procs by casting a spell that's opposite the element of his TP move. And really just go hard on him and get him dead as fast as you can. Alright, with him dead, we're going to head back to the basement and start going around the world, getting our basement, the top floor, and go around the world on the top floor bosses. Alright, from D, we like to go south, right from the Bitzer, into the room of 6, that's just directly south of here. That way we can get the pop item for Degâts. We got lucky today, we got the Deleterious. And if you don't know, to get the chest off the Deleterious, you just gotta kill it, and then kill 3 Fomors in the area, so just kill him. And then we like to go to this room to the south. There's a full party, and there's 6 of them. So you can get 2 blue chests from killing them while you're getting the pop item for Degâts. So all you got to do is kill them in order. Warrior, Monk, White Mage, Black Mage, Red Mage, Thief. And to get the pop item for Degâts, you just have to do a 4-step skill chain on 3 of them. We don't bother getting the safety item, the medal, in this area. We just get the pop item. So we pull, we kill 2 right away so that there's only 4 beating us on us instead of 6. And then we work on proccing them. We leave an extra one just in case, right? Maybe we kill one by mistake before it's procced, whatever. We just get the pop item, and then we'll head over to the guy to do the first killing. And yeah, like I said, we like this room because by killing the 6 and killing them in order, we get 2 extra blue chests. You know, it's more shots at old case plus 1s. It's better than a kick in the old pants. Alright, we're coming up to the D-Boss, the guy. Nothing really special on this fight. We try to proc him just like we do Ayeta because he also has the mechanic where he'll build up DT. But it's just a Zerg. You just run in there and destroy him. He's not very dangerous. The proccing's probably not even necessary, but you know, why make it harder than it has to be? Still debuff him, get the D of 3 on him, that kind of stuff. Get a box step, at least one box step on him, and then just crank him. And the nice thing, remember the upstairs bosses, they don't have the weapon skill wall, so you can use whatever weapon skill suits you best. We approach it basically the same way as Ayeta, just not nearly as careful. As you see, we just walked from the guy's room all the way over to where Scamora is. Luckily we found the boot on the way. We're going to kill him, and then we're going to proc both the metal and the shard for this area, because that curse can be kind of a pain in the ass that Scamora does, the taint. We want to be able to get that off, so we're going to proc 6 of these boners here after we kill the boot. And if you don't know, the proccing method here is you just have to do a magic burst, but the magic burst can't kill them, so we do a burning blade, a flat blade with a fire, and then a savage blade to finish it off. It's pretty smooth, kills them pretty quick, and we get our pop and our metal for Scamora, and we'll head up there and crank them. Alright, here we are approaching the sea boss, Scamora. You know, it's just another upstairs boss. There's not a lot to these fights anymore. The power creep has made them fairly trivial. We just zerg him just like we did with the guy. The nice thing on this guy is you don't really have to worry about proccing him at all. And you don't have to worry about skill chaining him. If I get a light skill chain off with Torque Cleaver, that's fantastic. So we just run in and just knock him out. No big deal. And that's basically how all these upstairs bosses are anymore. They're not that challenging. So yeah, just get in there, do everything you gotta do. Kill him. And we'll be moving on to B. Alright, as we're heading to B, you see we're not warping at all, we're just walking along the perimeter of the zone. We're coming up on the Umbros. We're going to use these to get the pop item for LeBron James. The only thing you need to worry about here is these things do doom, but that's not that big of a deal. Just make sure you have holy waters ready to go. And to get your pop item, I think you have to do a skill chain on them. That's it. As long as they get hit with a skill chain, you're going to get your pop item. We're also trying to kill 3 of them quickly. If you kill them quick enough, 3 of them quick enough from their aggro, you'll get a blue chest. And the way you get the red chest off the mini NM, the Porksy in this zone, you have to get that blue chest first. So we're going to work on this, and if we catch the Porksy, we're going to get his red chest as well, which is, it's just extra Gallimaufry. You love to see it. As soon as that's done, we're going to head up to LeBron James, and we're going to give him the business. Alright, approaching LeBron James' room. This guy actually does have a couple of mechanics you still have to watch out for, even on the upstairs version of him. Number 1, you're going to look at his hands. If he has the electric hands, which we have here, you don't want to put any debuffs on him that you can't afford to have on yourself. Slow and paralyzed, for example, don't do it. Dia, you can do it, but he reflects a pretty nasty Dia back on you if you put it on while he has Thunder Hands, but I think it's worth doing. If he starts with Wind Hand, he's going to absorb buffs every time he does his special move, Chokehold. So that can get really nasty without Asylum. The key to it is to kill him quickly. You can also put on superfluous buffs before you engage him if he has Wind Hand, and that way there's a chance he'll steal one of those useless buffs. Like on Dark Knight, I could do Ancient Circle, for example. That's a buff he might steal, and it could preserve one of my songs. I did make a mistake here. The best practice here is to just have everybody Savage Blade him. You don't want to risk skill chaining him. He also has a mechanic where he can heal substantially, depending on what hand is on. The best ways to deal with that is to just Savage Blade him. But he's dead now. We got our pop for the F boss, and we're going to head on over to A. Alright, here we are in Area A. Now we're going to use AccuX's to get our pop for the A boss. We made a mistake here. These AccuX's are quite far away from the boss. We should have waited to the room right before the leeches and done it there. To get the pop item here, you need to kill the AccuX's with magic damage. So a really nice way to do it. I mean, here I'm being lazy and just knocking it down low and then hitting it with fire. A great way to do it is to do Savage Blade to Burning Blade and then have the Red Mage Magic Burst Fire 4. That usually one-shots him. So we're going to get that. And we like to kill 2 extra AccuX's over the 3 that we kill with magic damage. And that way we get a blue chest. And it's just extra Gallimaufry and an extra chance at an old case +1. Alright, here we are coming up to the A boss, the final upstairs boss. And there's really not a lot here to worry about, except you do not want to, under any circumstances, cause Gal Gadot to take water damage or darkness damage. So as Dark Knight, I switch over to the Liberator, and I'm going to use Insurgency instead of Tor Cleaver. I don't want to risk skill chaining with a Savage Blade or anything like that. So just make sure... I mean, the safest approach, everybody do Savage Blade or Judgment or Black Halo. Those are all fine. Be very careful. Just like all the bosses, we're going to get Dia 3 on it, we're going to armor break it, and just Zerg her down, get her down as quickly as possible. Alright, back in the basement in Area E, we are finally back to doing some real bosses, right? Down here, we're going to look for the mini NM, the Botulus. I like to call him Bocce. He's got the best eyes. And we want to get the metal off of him so that we have a way to remove poison during Dartok. The trick to him is you want to do the bulk of the damage from the backside. So to do this without a tank, we used, on Dark Knight, I'll hit him with a stun, and I'll do a weapon skill to his face just to get some enmity. And I've built a stun set that has enmity plus in it. And I also have enmity plus and absorb int, charisma, and mind. And I'll just spam those and stun and try to keep his attention. Do magic weapon skills from the back. Lead and Salute is great. Seraph Blade works. Just be careful with Lead and Seraph. You don't want him to skill chain, because skill chain damage doesn't count, and you have to do bulk of the damage from the back. We also like to put one player on stun duty, Flat Blade, because he can charm and stuff. So anytime he's going to do a move, as soon as I see the lines, just Flat Blade him. You don't have to deal with it, because he does knockback as well. It's just a bunch of annoying stuff. Don't bother with it. Do the bulk of the damage from the back. Boom, you get the metal. And we're heading over to Dartok. Alright, here we are coming to Dartok. The E-boss. Big boss. No, he's not that big of a boss. There's not a lot to go over on this fight. Just real quick, the buffs. We have the 5 songs. We dropped the Victory March, so it's Honor March, 3 attack songs, and Blade Madrigal, and the Red Mage is in charge of Haste 2 now. And this has been true since we got finished with the D and the H boss. Just like the upstairs version of this boss, no water damage, no darkness skill chains. So again, I'm using the Liberator. We're also going to make sure we mix up the weapon skill types. So the Warrior, after they do the armor break, is on Upheavals. I'm on Insurgencies. Red Mage is doing Black Halos. And the Bard and the Core are both using Savage Blade. You can get incidental skill chains in there, which I find it's really nice. If you close an Insurgency off a Savage or a Black Halo, it's very nice. And the big thing to look out for is if anybody gets poison on them, it needs to come off quickly. Best practice is White Mage waits until Dartok uses an AoE poison move, uses Divine Caress, and then hits everybody with Poisona, and then you don't really have to worry about it for the rest of the fight. It's not going to get reapplied. Other than that, it's just a Zerg. Just don't do any water damage or dark damage, and just stay the course. She'll go down pretty easy. It's not too dangerous of a fight. Alright, now we're in Area G, and this is when the run really... It starts to speed up, right? We don't get slowed down with all these silly little objectives to get the boss pops. Just like in the E area, we want to get the metal here off of the Naraka, the mini NM, so we look for him. And the reason being that Tribulate down here, he can do a curse that without this metal, you can't take it off. And the worst part of it really is, it really slows down your movement speed, which can be a pain in the ass. So we're going to look for him. There's nothing special to get the metal off the Naraka. You just have to kill it. What we like to try to do is get a 3-step skill chain going. Upheaval, Black Halo, Torque Cleaver. It absolutely wrecks him. But the problem is, he does a lot of nasty stuff, including a Dispel. So just like on Bocce, have somebody assigned to Flat Blade duty. As soon as you see him using a TP move, as soon as those red lines appear, just Flat Blade him. Don't worry about interrupting the skill chain. That is much less important. And part of the way we kind of try to do it is as soon as the Flat Blade goes off, that's when we start our skill chain. and that way we can hopefully get all 3 steps in. But yeah, you don't want him doing any dispels. You just want to get him dead and move on with your life. There it is. There's our medal. Let's get it and go fight old Tribs. Alright, here we are at what used to be, I thought, the worst boss of the basement. I used to hate this guy. In fact, we have another video called Tribulate the Easy Way, where we kill him just by kiting him. That way we don't have to deal with any of his stupid mechanics, none of his knockback. And the most important thing was before we couldn't kill him in 3 minutes, so we didn't have to worry about getting hit by setting the stage, right? You only have 3 minutes to kill him. That's not really an issue anymore. The buffs are basically the same as they've been, right? We're going to do 3 Minuets, Honor March, and Blade Madrigal. Distract 3 is very important on this guy. He's hard to hit. You can do an Ice Threnody if you're having a hard time getting the Distract on. Otherwise, you know, do your best. And just like all the other bosses, debuffs are key. Dia 3, Light Shot, Armor Break, and Box Steps. You want all of that going. Nice thing about this guy, there's no proccing mechanism you have to worry about. And I can switch back to my Khalid Bog here and use my Torque Cleavers because it's okay if I skill chain with Savage Blade and things like that. One thing to note, well, you'll see as we're fighting him, he spawns these little pylons, these little towers on the whoever has hate, and they cause aura debuffs that can't be removed, but they don't last very long. The nice thing is, these things have a very small radius, so whoever's tanking it, they can kind of move around to move out of the way of the pylons, and everybody else, if you stay max melee distance behind him, or just away from the pylons, and he has a huge hitbox, you won't even get hit by him, so you can kind of just get them scattered around and keep them off the bulk of everybody. So like one spawn move, there's another one, let's move some more, can move back a little bit, and he has the weapon skill damage wall, right? So we're mixing it up, we're using Black Halos, Savage Blades, Upheavals, and Torque Cleavers. And just getting at it. He used to be horrible. He does do a move that steals TP, that's kind of a pain in the ass, but other than that, he's not so bad. Just make sure those pylons are all over the place and try to stay out of them. And just spank him. He likes it. Alright, here we are. F. Time is tight. We have got to get to Gartell. We got to get to him quick. No time for the Ixion. Not going to bother with it. And we also, maybe we don't know how to get the metal off of him. You know, technicality. Either way, we're not going for that Ixion. We're going straight for the boss. And, it's going to be a version of fun. Before we go, quick hot tip. Didn't do this in the footage that we're using for this video, but before you go up to Gartell, grab one of these fire elementals right outside of his room, have the red mage set up a darkness, and magic burst to drain 3 to get the... And here we are, the final boss, Gartell. Time is ticking down, we gotta get in there. This boss is pretty hard, and it's really a tale of two bosses because your strategy is going to be different depending on which color hands he starts with. Here we're starting with Thunderhand. Frankly, it's the easier, more straightforward method. I prefer it, but we have not really been lucky. We get the green hand most of the time. So the buffs are the same. 3 attacks, Blade Madrigal, and Honor March for Songs, Chaos Sam's roll. You got to be careful with the debuffs though, because with Thunderhand, when he uses the move Zap, he's going to reflect any debuffs on him back to your party. So be sparing about the debuffs you put on him, because you're going to get them back onto you. As Dark Knight, I've switched to his Scythe. I'm going to be focused on using Cross Reaper as my main weapon skill, and Quietus if it's a good chance to close a weapon skill. Warrior is on the Spear with Polearm with Impulse Drive Spam, and he's going to Mighty Strikes right out the gate. The big thing you got to watch out for here is Undulating Shockwave. When he does that, that indicates he's going to change the color of his hands. When that happens, you got to change the strategy immediately. White Mage needs to come in and Asylum the party, because once he goes to green hands, now he'll use Chokehold as his specialty, and it steals a buff from each person it hits every time he does it, and it's AoE. Not only do you need to keep your buffs, he starts hit like a truck if he gets too many. I've been hit as hard as 3,000. And as Dark Knight, I'm saving Soul Enslavement during Thunderhand, because if he goes to the green hand, after we get Asylum on, as it's counting down to like its last 5 seconds or so, then I'm going to pop Soul Enslavement to reduce his TP to try to, as best as possible, prevent buffs being eaten, because, again, he gets really nasty. But the nice thing about starting with Thunderhand is the fight's going to be well underway, and you're going to have a whole minute to finish him off. And once he's green hand, the damage goes faster because he's not stunning you constantly. Also, watch out for those fetters. If you get hit by one of those fetters, it's going to do either a really strong choke or a shock effect. Panacea it off ASAP. I didn't do it in here because I didn't even realize that was going to happen. So stay out of those fetters, and you got to get that effect off immediately. And just keep going, and oh my goodness, we killed him. We think we're champions, but what if he starts with the Wind Hand? Well, you're going to change up your strategy a little bit. Weapon skills are going to be the same, and as you can see in this footage, just a couple days later, I've switched to the Anguta. It's R15. It's pretty good on this fight. Even though he's green hand, still be careful with the debuffs because he may switch hands during the fight. What we're going to aim for here is to do as much damage as we can in 30 seconds, and then we're going to kite him. So the White Mage is going to give us Asylum as we're going in, so that choke doesn't take any of our buffs. And I'm going to actually do Soul Enslavement right away, because we found that sometimes he still gets Chokehold off, even with Soul Enslavement going. So the idea here is I'm going to do as many weapon skills as I can in that 25 or so seconds to build Enmity. And when there's only 5 seconds or so left on Asylum, the Red Mage is going to do Stymie Gravity 2 on Gartell, and the Warrior is going to use Super Jump to shed all of their hate. At this point as the Dark Knight, I'm going to get away from him. We're going to kite him. And like I said before, I have some enemy in my stun set, so it's perfectly safe to get within 20 alms or 21-ish alms so you can cast stun. And I can use my absorb spells too. And it could be good if the warrior, after you start the kiting phase, maybe uses high jump after about 3 weapon skills to shed 33% of their hate, and if random deal and or wild card are available, use those to reset super jump and high jump. So we found on this run, the warrior still pulled hate near the end. And really at this point, it's fine for everybody to do some damage to Gartell. It's perfectly safe. He doesn't do anything. And we found that this works really nice. Any other time we've started with Wind Hand, we just tried to kill him as quickly as we could, and he just gets too many buffs way too quickly, and he starts hitting like an absolute tank. It's ridiculous. So we just cheese him out. And if he happens to switch to purple hands in the middle of this, no big deal. You can stop kiting him. Dark Knight's perfectly safe to go back in and just finish him off. no problem. And now we are champions. Just like that, we've killed Gartell, both with Thunder and Wind Hand. And I'll tell you, this fight is still the most challenging one. We're still working out the kinks to get that timing down for transitioning from straight DD to kiting. But once you get it down, boom, look at that. There's 56,000 Gallimaufry for you. And look, we still even have a little bit of time. We're going to get greedy and go get another chest. And just like that, guys, you know, they said it couldn't be done. They said, don't you dare enter Sortie with a melee method with these delusions of grandeur like you're going to kill any of those bosses in the basement. Well, we did it. We did them all. And it felt so good. That's 56,000 Gallimaufry in the bank for a run. And I find melee methods more fun, so I enjoyed this a great deal. And even when we were working out the kinks, because Ayeta and Gartell in particular, sometimes we would mess up. You know, it took us took some practice to get those fights smooth. Even when we would fail, we'd get like 46,000. I mean, it's a respectable run. And even if you are comfortable with the Black Mage method, I mean, we're going to be grinding out this content for a long time. It could just be fun to mix things up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe you learned a trick or two, I don't know. And we'll see you at twitch.tv/VelnerXI, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, every day but Sunday. So be there, be square, guys. Have a great night.